Starting with our top story now, as the world continues to search for a vaccine against COVID-19, Singapore has temporarily halted the use of 2 influenza vaccines as a precaution after few people reportedly died after receiving them in South Korea. South Korea reported that at least 48 people have died as of Saturday after getting flu shots. However, it said that it would carry on with the state-run vaccination program as they found no direct link between deaths and the vaccine shots. Singapore has now become one of the first countries to publicly announce a halt of vaccines usage. Now, Singapore has not yet reported any deaths related to the influenza vaccination. However, according to the Health Ministry, the decision to halt the use of Sky Cell Flu, Quadrivalent and Vaxigrid Tetra is precautionary. Meanwhile, South Korea has urged its citizens to get vaccinated against influenza and reduce the chances of an outbreak that coincides with the battle on coronavirus, as it kicked off free inoculations for the last eligible group. Questions related over the safety of flu vaccines have soared in the past few days after South Korea reported the deaths of 48 people following the vaccination. However, authorities have rejected direct links between fatalities and the flu program. At least 1,154 instances of adverse reactions have been reported from among more than 9.5 million people inoculated since the effort began in September. Meanwhile, around 5 million doses had to be disposed of after not being stored at recommended temperatures last month. Our correspondent Bruce Harrison is joining us live from Seoul for more on this. Thank you so much for joining us, Bruce. Now, Singapore has temporarily halted the use of the influenza vaccine, but South Korea has urged its citizens to get the flu shot. How do you assess this?
Well, at this time, we're still trying to understand if there could be any link between the vaccines and the deaths that have taken place here over the past week and a half. The South Korean health authorities say there is no link yet, but they still are investigating. They've been conducting autopsies and doing other investigations of different batches of vaccine to see if there could be perhaps a toxic substance or perhaps infected needles. It's just unclear right now exactly what is taking place. A death following a vaccine for the flu is quite rare. South Korea last reported a death in 2009, and that was an elderly patient who had underlying health issues. So jumping from then to now and seeing the number of deaths, I'm sure could be alarming to any health official or foreign government. And out of an abundance of caution, Singapore has advised against these 2 vaccines, one called Vaxigrid Tetra, the other Sky Cell Flu Quadrivalent. But because South Korea says it hasn't determined any link, it's still looking forward at this point to potential harder health burden without the flu vaccine. So it's encouraging the public to continue.
Okay, Bruce, but questions related over the safety of the flu vaccine have now soared, of course, after South Korea reported deaths of 48 people. Why then do you think is South Korea still so determined to keep up the inoculation process? Why just not call for a temporary halt?
That's a really good question. I think there's a significant amount of concern here now, especially among people within the healthcare industry. We have seen different op-eds. We have seen different people speak up and say the government should be considering a suspension or acting on that and halting the program now. But like I said, the South Korean government appears to be looking forward as far as potential complications from both the flu and COVID-19. I think there's a concern that if you tell people to stop taking the influenza vaccine, will that impact the public's sentiment about receiving a COVID-19 vaccine as well? If you say vaccines aren't safe, we don't know what's going on, are we going to run into a situation when there is a COVID-19 vaccine that people are worried about taking that one as well? There's a lot of sociological impact involved in this as well, I believe, and it's making the government act cautiously.
All right, Bruce, thank you so much. You make a very important point there. Thank you so much for joining us with all those details.